welcome back to my video blog. I've got the pleasure today to introduce Mark Adams, who's an appraiser, and Mark and I talk a lot because he does such a good job. We always refer him to people, but Mark, let me ask you this, because we want to talk about how people can, what they can do to improve value, make sure the appraisal comes in, that sort of thing. But how long have you been doing this?
26 years, licensed.
26 years.
Yeah, I was
so
one
you
of
got
the first people licensed in the state of California.
actually first license.
Right.
And becoming an appraiser is different than a real estate agent. I know you can go take a basic real estate test, it's the equivalent of a high school math test or some studying, but then you're free to let loose on the public. How much studying, or what do you have to do to become an actual appraiser?
If you were to do it today, you'd need a 4-year degree. You'd need 2,500 hours of logged time under another appraiser, and I believe it's another 68 hours of education that you would need before you could step out in the field. Huge amount of time.
Yeah, so there's an actual apprenticeship, so you had to do that, and then you've got your 20 years, 7 years of experience.
And all that has to be logged and documented with the state of California.
Okay, so that explains a lot why we can count on you, and we know you know what you're doing. So people ask me this all the time. One, what are a couple of 2 or 3 things they should know about to make sure they get the most value from the house and to make sure it appraises?
One of the most things is what I hear from people. If the front yard is cleaned up, it entices people to come further into the house, and the house has to be clean, uncluttered. And if the kitchen has been upgraded and the bathroom's upgraded, that really helps. But in this market, it hasn't been important because the sellers have been back in control for 4 or 5 months.
Right.
But all that is going to change as the market. It'll soften a little bit, and that's going to become very important and be competitive.
Right.
You got to have a product.
Yeah.
And those things make a big difference, especially if you're in the 550 to 600, 650 category. They like to see buying a clean house, ready to go, turnkey.
Okay.
All right.
So the major, not the major things, but little things, cleaning up the yard, cleaning up the house, spending a few $100,000 makes a big difference. And then if you go the extra mile in that price range, which would be the kitchens and baths, that would be the kind of the bonus, I guess.
One other thing on the side is I get a call from people, what do you think the repairs are? I would have the home inspection list done prior by a reputable guy and have the list on the table. And then you're talking price and not issues of repairs. That's personally, but that's...
Yeah, well, that just makes everybody's life simpler, and so provide a good product when you're a home seller. Okay, good. And then I don't think you have challenges, but dispel what I think is the myth. People worry about homes appraising. Say this year, what percentage of your homes did appraise, or how is that a problem?
I would say 1%. Maybe probably in reality it was 0.5%. Less than that, overpriced. The other were zoning issues and so forth. So that is in this market. The underwriters, everyone is on board. We know that it's gone up.
Somebody wants to get their home appraised right
now.
Yeah,
I know. So it's no longer an issue. The market's gone up. The comparables are there. The data's are there.
Okay. But so I guess my question would be, into that, we do see some, and sometimes you have to be the second appraiser if there's an issue. I mean, why do people think that those problems occur? Because they do occur more than 1% or 0.5%. What would you say is the issue there?
I think some of the issues might be the confidence in the appraiser. He doesn't know the area, and that is probably one of the biggest issues we're having. Like I had an issue in Shell Beach. I had to do a review, and the appraiser was marking decline. They're getting multiple offers on properties. Inventory is low. That's incorrect, and the lender readjusts their ratios and so forth for the buyer, based on a declining market. So that information has to be correct. It's got to be accurate, and that's really important.
So they made a basic assumption that the market at Shell Beach this year is declining when actually we don't know what's going on. Okay.
Yeah.
So that can happen even with, I guess, an experienced appraiser. Now, I think when you and I talk about prices, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's one of the things is right now you can look at old sales, which are old, or you can look at pendings. And I think you mentioned something about this when I last talked to you, that you actually will call up the agents of the pending homes. How does that work?
First thing I do is if I'm going down to Pismo Beach, I'll look at 9 or 10 pendings. I'll just start calling the broker. Say, hey, how many offers did you get on that home? And I'm surprised the really experienced brokers are so deadly honest with you. They'll go, we had 1 good offer, we took it. The other guy will say, I had two offers. And the third guy will say, I had 1 over. And eventually you get a feel for the market, and you know where it's settled in. Because the pending sale is right today, this very moment. A closed sale, if it's closed in 5, 13, that's already 60, 90, 120 days old. It already doesn't reflect the market.
Right.
Take the time. And I tell the brokers this. Those who are good, and most of them are so good about returning calls. Their time will come in the queue where we're doing their sale. And it'll be up to them, and they're going to want the best appraisal possible. And returning those phone calls for 1 minute It really helps.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we have to do the same thing when I go to price a property. I, see what's happening with the other homes. So, Mark, you work for banks and so forth, but if somebody needs to get an appraisal done for an estate or evaluation, anything, how does someone reach you?
Private appraisal, they give me a call or they send me an email, and
What's that number?
805-440-4476.
Okay.
And then the email is markadams12@gmail.com, and the 12 is for 1Adam12.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. So good. So if you have any questions about appraisal, give Mark a call. He does obviously an amazing job, and he gave the example of some appraisers. Mark's not going to handle appraisal unless he does a great job. That's why we like working with Mark. So Mark, it's great to have you here.
Oh, thank you. And I got to say something about Hal's office. One thing over the years, I can call them and get anything I need. And one thing no matter good or bad about the property, they're right up front with the information. They're just forthcoming, and I think they're customers because I see the sellers, and they comment to me every time about that, the follow through, and how important that is. And it is important. I think the disclosure all the way, whatever it is, it's just great to have. That's what I can say about that.
Well, we know it's a challenge enough, so we just try to make it easy on each other.
Well, it's appreciated. It really is.
All right, well, if you have any questions, give Mark or I a call. Our number here is 781-3750, and we'll look forward to talking to you very, very soon.